Topicon, hello, I am Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com and welcome to all the AEW WTF moments from another good episode of Dynamite, only made better by Le Champion, Chris Jericho, who was on commentary all night, not only throwing out, spitting, bare bars, bare, sick bars, some might say, but also putting over the people who were inside the ring. He is really good at all of the things, isn't he? And I don't know about you, but I cannot wait for the monumental showdown between Chris Jericho, Le Champion, and that damn no good Pineapple Pete at an upcoming AEW pay-per-view soon, hopefully. But aside from Chris Jericho, a shout out to Britt Baker. And I've got to be honest with you, I didn't get that woman whatsoever when she was a babyface, but now she's a heel, and after that match against Shida last night, she's great, isn't she? And on top of that as well, we saw a fun, if not a bit too long of a matchup between two sets of best pals, and Shawn Spears, he was doing really well. Until he wasn't. Hit the intro. WTF! And we've got to kick things off with Le Champion mentioning New Japan Pro Wrestling by name on a live-ish episode of Dynamite, which has got to be a WTF moment maybe. That's if, of course, anything you've probably read in the dirty sheets over the past year is true, and that's if we can take anything from sassy Tony Khan's sassy comments from that post-match press conference thing a while ago, where he was like, I've been so good to New Japan Pro Wrestling, but they haven't been so good to me, so I'll smash their faces in next time I see them. Went something like that. Now, I've got no idea when this week's episode of Dynamite was recorded, but a doctor of the mouth doing that there to another human being in this day and age? Unbelievable, Jeff. Or maybe, just maybe, after seeing what we saw between my beacon of hope, Otis, and Mandy at WrestleMania, and that there, this whole pandemic thing doesn't really exist in the world of professional wrestling, maybe shaking hands and kissing babies didn't get Chris Jericho anywhere in life, but then when he started shaking babies and kissing hands, things started happening for him. Because I myself, I've shaken a few babies in my time, and the only thing that happened to me is I ended up covered in vomit. Oh. And then we have Le Champion raising quite an interesting point when Britt Baker was hitting the move she's about to hit in that picture there. Le Champion called it a side Pittsburgh leg sweep because, as we all know, Britt Baker is from the Pittsburgh, which raises the question, why is it always a side Russian leg sweep when more often than not the person hitting the move is from nowhere close to Russia? Answers on a postcard, s'il vous plaît. And then we have the moment where Big Dick Tony Schiavone was like, Le Champion Chris Jericho, do you remember the moment where Britt Baker ripped the face off Yuka Sakazaki? And Le Champion replies, oui, oui, Tony, I do remember. We haven't seen Yuka since, and that's not right. And that's because we all know that facial attack from Britt Baker to Yuka happened on the February 5th episode of AEW Dynamite. And since then, Yuka has had 3 AEW matches. One was a 4-way on Dynamite, one was an episode of AEW Dark, and one was a dark match before AEW Revolution. And there you go, Chris Jericho. And I'm asking you, do you need to brush up on your Yuka Sakazaki facts and figures? There's one answer here, of course, and that is yeah. And she's now the demon, Big Dick Tony said. And if that image there wasn't enough of a WTF moment all by itself, a Dale Torborg reference from Big Dick Tony Schiavone has certainly made it so. And then we hear Mrs. Jake Hager herself saying, we are a house of winners. If Jake Hager doesn't win, he doesn't come home, right? Right, guys? And after hearing that, I was thinking, wow, Jake Hager survived many years of being homeless. Just look at what he did. Or maybe didn't do during the last few years of his WWE career, and his wife is saying if he doesn't win, he doesn't come home. How the hell did he survive for that long? And reports are now coming into me from the news that tells me that Jake Hager got his spot back in his house alongside Mrs. Hager when he became 5-star wrestling legend. that promotion's done so much good for the world of professional wrestling, kicking things off with giving Jake Hager a spot back in his own house. And then we have this character here claiming that Jake Hager is the only man in the history of the world ever to do the professional wrestling and the MMA at the same time, being successful at both at the same time. And maybe, just maybe, that character there is being a pro wrestling heel by telling a blatant lie, but then again, I don't think he's a pro wrestler. So that didn't work out, did it? So no doubt about it then, when a certain Mr. Bobby Lashley heard that claim from that character up there, Bobby Lashley was making one noise, wasn't he? Some mere seconds after Chris Jericho suggested Michael Nakazawa should hide a phallic-shaped bottle of baby oil in his trunks. Could you imagine? Chris Jericho also claimed that if professional referees were to search him before his professional wrestling matches, they would find things such as brass knuckles and forks, and I quote, "I'll pull a fork out and cut a bitch." That's the WTF moment there, that quote from Jericho. And also, Chris, you've given your game away, pal. If a full body search of Chris Jericho is not now happening before each and every Chris Jericho match in AEW, those referees are irresponsible. And then we have more professional wrestlers teleporting. We saw it so many times over WrestleMania weekend with supernatural beings, spooky people like The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt being one place 1 second, then somewhere else the next second, and normal people like Rhea Ripley being one place 1 second and another place another second. But on AEW, more supernatural beings that you wouldn't expect to be supernatural beings were unearthed, as 1 second we're seeing that shot there, then a quick crowd shot later we're seeing that shot there. But the crucial thing is there was no ring noise made by a bump happening, so presumably Trent just comfortably lay himself down. And that's weird. So last night I learned 2 things about mini-skirt police. First of all, it's a tag team move in professional wrestling that sounds like nothing it is suggesting it might be. And second of all, it's a game apparently for the Sega Saturn, and I know what that thing is. I don't know at all. But of course I'm making this a WTF moment because of the fact that mini-skirt police sounds something very different compared to the professional wrestling move it actually is. And also because when it comes to most of Kenny Omega's matches, it turns out, in AEW at least, you need a massive gaming knowledge to understand a lot that's going on. And I don't know, so there you go. What? Forget about the wine and dine Michael Nakazawa just wants to put his knackers in your face. 69 ting. And then we've got to touch on the fact that the spirit of the Tamina train is sweeping its way through the professional wrestling world. First of all, Braun Strowman gets a train-based t-shirt, and second of all, Michael Nakazawa debuts in AEW at least his own train maneuver there. Unless, of course, he used it before, which he probably did. I don't know what's going on inside these 4 walls anymore. I'm going radio rental. Blowjobs! And then we've got to make it a WTF moment as well, the moment where Big Dick Tony Schiavone called that move there a fall-away slam. And I guess if you look at the logistics of the maneuver, it is a kind of fall-away slam. But Big Dick Tony, let's just call it what it is. I know Kurt Angle works for another company, but that there is an Angle / Olympic slam off the top there, or the middle, I can't remember where he was. He's gonna puke, said Chris Jericho in a Vince McMahon reference on AEW television that didn't stink. And I say stink because up until last night, in my personal opinion, all of these Vince McMahon references from Brody Lee, they were very stinky indeed. What a stinky boy. But last night, that was more like it from Brody Lee. No cheap shots at Vince McMahon whatsoever, as far as I could see. Now, I guess the very concept of that segment there was sort of a Vince McMahon reference because I've heard Bruce Pritchard on his podcast speak about Vince McMahon bringing in a dress code for the superstars arriving to an arena in the past, but there was no outright cheap jabs at Vince and Brody Lee, and in my opinion, that is better for his character. He doesn't need to do these cheap little jibes at Vince McMahon that make all of us nerds go, oh, I can't believe he said that. He's bigger than that. He's better than that, and last night proved it. Good on you, Brody. Yeah. And do we think Matt Hardy meant to say Santina and Ortiz, or do we think that was a genuine mistake? Answers on a postcard, please. And I'm saying that, of course, because the thing Matt Hardy wants to sink his teeth into and the thing he's saying he wants to sink his teeth into are very different things altogether. And we get to the finish of that match between Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears, and as Le Champion said on commentary, I don't think I've ever seen anybody pin somebody with a figure 4 leg lock. I guess that normally when people are getting their shoulders pinned to the mat in the midst of a figure 4 lock, they pass out through the pain and the referee counts them out. So it was really weird to see Shawn Spears, easy for me to say, put your teeth back in, Ross, for goodness sake. It was weird to see Shawn Spears flapping about like a fish while getting pinned to the mat. Weird. But that was it for all of your WTF moments from this week's episode of AEW Call on Dynamite. Once again, as I said, it was good, wasn't it? Let me know what you think of that show and this utter travesty of a video as well in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear what you think. I'll see you next time, and I don't know when that is because I've forgotten the concept of time. It's all blended into one, this wrestling malarkey. Isolation's going well.